do you trample upon? Things that are not that important, that therefore they go underfoot. We're insensitive, as the bottom of the foot can be very insensitive when it steps upon something. So the Beinoni asks themselves, in order to truly own their lives, that there are things that are not the most, not so terrible. And perhaps in a hierarchy of things, indeed they're not. But yet, if you truly own your life, that area that we might be insensitive to, that is not tragic, it's not a prohibition of the Torah, it's just, we could be better in that area of, areas that we get into a conversation with someone and it veers slightly, and you might be in a position that you want to exonerate yourself, and by exonerating yourself, you kind of throw some darkness on another person. No, it wasn't me, it was him. And sometimes it might even be necessary to say it was him, because then you know the address of where you have to deal with the issue. But not necessarily. Sometimes it's just, we don't want to be perceived in a negative light. And that can be a very, again, very not black and white issue. The Beinoni, and think about it in our lives. If you've been learning together with me, for Tanya, for the last few months, 6 months or a year, for example, look back and things that you had a major issue with before, all of a sudden, not such a major issue anymore. You're able to handle and deal that situation, that person, that red hot button that would be pushed in my life that would bring a negative reaction. It doesn't anymore, or not in the same manner. And now the issues in my life are not so black and white. They're shades of gray. And because they're shades of gray, that they're not so obvious, it's easily to trample upon them and to, in our minds, exonerate ourselves, thinking that it's okay, this kind of behavior. When we think about it in greater detail, we will come away and say, okay, I've worked hard on the other area, which that was clear to me, whether it was, let's say, anger, impatience, laziness, and I've worked upon that because those are obvious negative traits. But then there's the small area that is kind of deeper within the emotional makeup of ours, that we don't know what is influencing me to do this, or to act, or to engage in this. And we think a little more deeply and we realize, maybe that's not coming from such a healthy, positive place. And we deal with that. Now, I don't mean going to a therapist to find out. We don't necessarily need that. Perhaps sometimes we need it. I'm just talking about the things that we trample upon, that we that are not, again, so obviously negative. And because we've done it so often, it becomes in our minds okay. We become insensitive to it, when perhaps we need a greater sensitivity. And this is what the Alter Rebbe is suggesting, that the Beinoni is capable of reaching to a greater sensitivity by recognizing that, my struggle in those areas, even though the negativity there is not so obvious, it's slight, but being that it's kind of a shade of gray, I probably won't engage so strongly to deal with that issue. Whereas the Kal Shebekalim, the one who's far removed, where issues are very black and white, anger issues, um, haughtiness, arrogance, those are black and white. And, the Kal Shebekalim who's dealing with that or partially dealing with it has a lot to overcome. And the battle is great. So the Beinoni can feel humble to that individual, that because in my area, what I need to work on, as slight as it might be, am I putting in the real effort there? As opposed to the Kal Shebekalim, just not to be angry because someone said something. That off my back would just roll. Off probably most people's back would just roll off. But this person has got a fiery furnace of ego and a negative behavior patterns. That when that button is not even pushed, looked at, person kind of explodes and has to deal with that. And they deal with it somewhat, but they have to put a lot of effort. Am I putting a lot of effort in the things I need to deal with that I may be trampling upon? That is the question of the Beinoni. And the Beinoni comes up saying, I come up short compared to that person, and therefore can feel humbled before them. Questions, comments, thoughts? Before I lose the feed here, let me see. I don't see. Any questions? Instagram? How about Clubhouse? Mute. Everybody?
Rabbi?
Yes.
So
Go ahead, Wilma.
This letter, Rabbi, is it suggesting that every person may be humbled in the presence of another if we look and or just have that attitude?
Sure. If the Beinoni, who has mastery over thought, speech, and action, can use this to be humbled before others, then we, who are not a Beinoni, but a Beinoni in training, most definitely we can be humbled. No question about it. No question about it. So perhaps this is another way to look at it. Everybody is on a ladder, and perhaps we're even all on the same ladder. And the ultimate purpose is to move up from the rung you're on. The rung you're on, that's by divine providence where you are, who you are today. That's who you are today. And that's your level. The fact that you are on a higher rung than somebody else is not of consequence and not of importance in this understanding. Because perhaps you're on a higher rung, but you're not putting in the effort to move up to the next rung because it's not so obvious. It's a shade of gray, so it's not so obvious what your struggle is in order to move up. Whereas someone who's on a much lower rung, it's much more obvious what they need to do. Oh, they need to pray today. Oh, they need to put on tefillin today. Oh, they need to give charity today. They didn't do that. So it's a very clear thing. They need to be kind today. So it's very clear direction up. And the fact that the person maybe even struggles with that, but does it, it's a movement upwards. Whereas the individual who is on a very high rung, the movement upwards is going to be much less clear, and therefore the movement may not happen. So each of us, different rung, and what's important is which direction we're going. And therefore, can I really say that I am moving higher up a rung from where I'm at versus someone who's might be in a level of observance, of doing good and staying away from negativity, much lower place, that they're not moving up? That's why you can't judge a person until you come to their place, ultimately, is because we don't know from that place, did they move up, a rung and a half, where I moved up a quarter of a rung. I only moved a quarter of a rung. So that's in that respect, it applies to all of us. I like that metaphor because it gives us an appreciation of each and every single one of us. Distinction between us and others. Thank you, Vilma. Michael, please share.
I had a question. In the Talmud is the story about Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, the author of the Mishnah, and his son, Rabbi Shimon, wrote a letter for divorce. And Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi found the error in it. And as he said it to his son defended himself and said, "No, I wasn't it. It was Rabbi Elo Yehuda the tailor."
Right.
It wasn't permitted to defend himself, but his father said him that this was wrong what he did. He should only correct it. Why? Where's the line in this case? Because it's not forbidden to defend yourself in this case, but it was wrong. It's like this Lashon Hara argument. When is this Lashon Hara? When not?
Right.
What was wrong at this point?
Yeah. So good question. So, his father was under the impression that he wrote the bill of divorce and he made the mistake. So he asked him. So the response to that would be to his question, I didn't write it. Now, he felt he should tell who wrote it because then, not only would it exonerate himself, but it would also then point the finger of if there's something necessary to be dealt with further. But that wasn't the question his father asked. So he went further beyond, what he was asked. Now, if his father would have asked him afterwards, oh, then who wrote it, because I need to bring it to them, or which not necessarily he has to, because it could have been done by someone else. But if there was a need, so that way he would correct him for the future, that he shouldn't make that mistake. So if the father was asking that, so then it would be, something to respond to. But the father wasn't asking that, so therefore it was kind of bordering on lashon hara as a result, and that's why his father said, that don't speak slanders. I didn't ask you that question. I asked if you, assuming that you had written it. So, in that instance, it was a gray line, but a line which he passed, and therefore his father corrected him. Right? If his father would have said to him, did you write this, or did Yehuda the tailor write this? Okay, so then father, the rabbi, who needs to know for, and is asking, and he needs to know, so then that would be a different story. Right? I think that's the distinction to be made. Is that clear?
Yes, it's clear. Thanks.
Thank you. Vicky, basically we should always examine ourselves instead of others because we always have something to work on. Vicky, well said. Exactly. But the novelty over here is still, and remember, what does the Alter Rebbe want over here? To teach the Beinani how to deal with the negativity from within. Can you deal with the negativity from within? When you subdue it, when you crush it. So that's the goal over here, is to crush it, that it should not have a mastery over me. That's what's needed over here. So therefore, generally, you would not even compare yourself to another person. But there's a purpose to compare yourself to another person here, is to feel the lowness in regard to another person, so that will be then a motivator for you to more own your life and to deal with the negativity that is bringing a dullness of the heart, so you will allow the soul to truly emerge. Remember, that's the perspective over here. So this is not always the way to deal with things, to look at yourself and feel lower than another. This is a method of humbling, subduing, diminishing, and if possible, is to crush the negativity from within. Remember that is the goal over here, because we're in chapter 30, right? We haven't had such a thing like this before, that there would be a comparison to another. So there is place for that. There is room for that, but in the proper context, in the context that we're speaking about over here. It's a powerful context. I hope that's clearer now.
It is very clear. Thank you, Rabbi.
You're very welcome. And for everybody else too. Okay, so we didn't hear from Norm or from Jeff, Marcy, or some others that sometimes share. But that's okay. I'm sure the message is clear. Let me see if there's something else I missed here. Davida. I find it hard to decipher when to be silent, when to speak the correct words. I'm stuck in shades of gray. Davida, yes. Are we judged as trampling on it if we're not sure if our actions were correct or not? How do we know the right thing to do at all times? That's a great question. I guess we need to think of inside what's motivating us to want to say this. Am I doing this so I could be exonerated? Am I saying this so I could feel better about myself? Am I saying this so I could look good? All of those things are coming from a negative place. If it's coming because I feel responsible for this person's actions, I feel that I have something to share that might help this individual, so then that's coming from a good place. That's coming from a good place. But sometimes we fool ourselves and trick ourselves to thinking that we're really kind of caring about the other, but sometimes we got to be careful that maybe it's not about the other, it's about me, and that is very tricky. Very tricky. Darren, I don't mean by shaking our head effective to control our mind. I don't know what that means exactly. Advising us to have compassion, Laurie. Yes. I guess if we're, again, where are we coming from? That would be the question. Okay, but great question, by the way. By the way, had a great class last night. I missed some of you, or a lot of you.
I will be listening to the replay.
Okay, great. Enjoy. Yes, you can get that on Tanya Rabbi. You can get that on. Just make sure that get it on Tanya Rabbi. You can get it um, on also Tanya Rabbi on YouTube. Yeah, beautiful. All right. All right, folks. Amazing as always. And as always, there's a novel teachings in every day from the Alter Rebbe, which is remarkable when you think about it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadesh Montreal County. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day. Don't forget Rambam today at 1, learning the laws of what it means a robber, what it means lost objects, intriguing stuff.
Norm just came up, Rabbi.
Oh, Norm, all right. Please share with us, Norm.
Hi. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having this class. Well, I was looking on Chabad.org,
Mm-hmm.
and I could share the link if you'd like.
Sure.
And they had a link to a really beautiful nigun to listen to which to listen while engaging in this inner struggle, as you mentioned, to master thought, speech, and action, this sort of constant struggle. And I don't know, I just thought it was really nice. It's a good reinforcement. That's all I wanted to share.
Oh, that's great. Actually, thank you for bringing that up, Norm, because that is actually something that I use myself. I think I've mentioned it before, but Norm brought it up. It's very worthy to mention again, and that is, the things again that are obvious in life. So we have the wherewithal, but the things that are not as obvious, or even if they are obvious, sometimes just a melody gets you into a headspace, gets you into a place that you find deeper powers inside of you that you can overcome. And especially if you're kind of down a bit, so then a lively Hasidic melody brings you up. Or if you need to look more deeply within, so sometimes the more, I don't know what the word to use, I don't want to call it, it's not a melancholy melody, even though it may appear that way on some level, but it is a more soul engagement melody, I would call. I don't know if I got the right word there, but I think you know what I mean. So more soul engaging, that it brings you to a deeper place, that now whatever challenge that you're engaged in is just you're in a healthier place to be able to deal with it. And yeah, definitely helps. Norm, thank you. Yeah, so that is a favorite of mine, specifically on Shabbos, sitting at a Fabringen. By the way, whenever you come to Montreal, Chabad Zichron Kadeshim for a Shabbos, we sit in Fabring in the afternoon, and it's quite something. It's beautiful, and you're all welcome. You're all welcome to come and join.
Beautiful, Rabbi. Should I share the link?
Sure, absolutely.
With one of the mods, and they can put it at the top of the room?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I'm doing it now.
All right. How's that work exactly? How do you share something that you see it here? I'm a little ignorant.
Batia or V, do you want to mod me, and I'll put it there, and
Oh, I can do that.
Okay, here, I'll get it. Well, okay.
Okay, I made you.
So, okay. Okay.
But where do you put it? You put it in...
On Clubhouse, I'm going to put it on top. Give me 1 second. I'm going to do it. People are asking me back channel as well.
So, Rabbi, what you have to do...
Back channel I see. Got back channel I see.
Right-hand side, and it gives you a place where you could add names.
Where?
The three little dots has an option for edit pin a link, and you just put the URL in there, and the pin a link will pin that link at the top.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. I learned something today. Well, I hope I learned a lot today, but beautiful. Put it also into the back channel.
Okay, coming up.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's good. It's a nice sort of reinforcement too of what we're learning today, and in general about the Benjamin.
Okay, how do we get this onto Facebook from here?
I'll share it on my page, but you could also share it on your page. Right?
Can you share it on the comments right now?
Yeah, I could try.
Okay, if not, I could share it later. I don't know how to do that exactly because I'd have to get it from here. I don't know if I could do it. I'm sure I would.
It looks like I did it.
Yes, you did. Yeah, you did. Thank you, Vilma.
Do you have space for another comment, Rabbi?
Yeah, sure.
There is Imram Bag. I guess he wants to come on stage and have something to say.
Okay, Imram, go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, Batya, V, Ronnie, Norm, Michael? What's up, everyone? Hope you're having a good morning if you're in the States, or a good day wherever you are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning.
Morning, Norm. I just wanted to hop on the stage. I'm a big fan of Norm's, and I wanted to support him in the room.
All right.
And yeah.
Beautiful. So one of the ways you're going to support him is that you got the link over here. So use the link out. A great support. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Imran.
Thank you, Imran. All right, folks. Beautiful. All right. The conversation will continue tomorrow. As always, it's beautiful. I said this many times before, but moved again to say that I am humbled by everybody's day in, day out, or for some people it's week in, week out, commitment to learning Tanya, to taking your life seriously and owning it, to try to become, if you're Jewish, a better Jew, or someone who isn't Jewish, a better servant of God, through growing closer through the teachings of Tanya to Hashem, and to taking hopefully the lessons that we learn and to share it with others, and we are all here to change the world for good, and that's the Tanya is that teachings on a daily basis that will change not only us but change the world for good. So I'm truly humbled and thankful for all of you to be involved and engaged, and to learn and to live. God bless you all. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a pleasure and a privilege to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day. God bless you all.